Hi, my name is Carrie O'Toole, and I work as a life coach mainly around the areas of grief and trauma. And I've been hearing a lot of questions and concerns from people this week, so I thought maybe I would pop on here and shoot a quick video that maybe could help more people instead of just the one-on-one that I work with every day. So some of the questions that I've been hearing are, what do I do if I have PTSD type symptoms and I'm stuck at home, as we all are, and I don't know what to do because sometimes some of the people in my house are the ones who trigger me. So I wanted to share a few things that I've been sharing with clients, and maybe this will be helpful to you. It's best if you can sit down with these people who are your family members um, during a time when you're not triggered, when nobody's triggered, when everybody's feeling somewhat okay, and you can come up together with a safety plan that would work for everyone in your family. This would be something like, okay, we all know what it feels like when we start getting triggered. You know, when your breathing starts getting faster and you feel like the thinking part of your brain starts shutting off, and you can just tell you're not going to respond well. We all know that feeling if you've got any trauma in your history. So when that starts happening, everybody needs to just have a place that they can go and let their brains kind of kick back on. If you think about it like this, the front part of your brain is where all of the thinking and the logic and the reasoning happen. And when we go into a traumatic trigger, when there's something that pushes us into that fight or flight, that front part of our brain actually shuts off. It's kind of like the computer of your body, and we have to let it restart. We have to start it over again because all of the blood rushes from here to our limbs so that we can fight or we can flee or we can freeze. And so that's what's happening. You're not crazy. You're not, just a wimp that this is happening. It's a God-given mechanism so that if we are truly in danger of either our lives or our physically or our psychological life, because sometimes people with PTSD, myself included, struggle with this due to a threat to our psyche, to our well-being in our mental health, not just our physical health. A lot of people think that only war veterans or something like that are the ones who get PTSD, but many of us have trauma issues that come from different topics, different areas other than just fighting. Not to minimize that at all, that they're all valid. But when we get triggered, our body is flooded with cortisol and adrenaline, which are the stress hormones, and they allow us to escape possibly that event. But when we're not in that type of situation, we can still be triggered, or maybe some of you are. Maybe you're in a domestic violence situation. A lot of the people that I coach are parents of children who have been adopted that have a lot of trauma. And sometimes these kids can get violent as well. And so some of us are stuck home, quarantined, or have a stay in home order from the government. And so now you're at home with the people who actually trigger, or maybe you are triggering their trauma. If we can all sit down together and come up with a plan of where can we go if we get triggered into that, because if you try and stay with it, if you try and push through and have a conversation while you're triggered in trauma or while someone in your family is triggered in trauma, nothing good is going to happen. So it's best if we can find a place where everybody can go. Hopefully there's a bedroom or a garage, or somebody can go outside, or living room, whatever it needs to be. But everybody needs to go until we can reboot our brains and get our computers kicked back on again. So I want to give you just a couple of pointers about how to do that. Like I said, first of all, have this conversation when nobody's triggered and get everybody's buy-in. That wouldn't this be good if we don't go into that place? It's just not good and healthy, and it's scary for everybody. So everybody goes to their place, whatever that is. then do what you need to do to help your brain get calmed down. We've got to do some breathing exercises, which that could be breathing in for like 8 counts and then breathing out for 10 counts. And do that slowly, do it 4 or 5 times in a row. That helps get your brain clicked back on. Another one that can really help is sit in a chair or on your bed. And when we feel that trauma reaction, sometimes it almost feels like we're not grounded to reality. We're kind of starting to float away a little bit. I know my head kind of feels floaty and like I don't know what I'm doing. So we need to get grounded again. So what we're going to do is sit firmly in a chair. I'm sitting on a chair right now, and you kind of talk yourself through all the feelings of that chair. We're getting our brain rebooted. This may seem silly, but it works. So if you're sitting in a chair, feel the floor. Like right now, I have bare feet and I'm on a wood floor, and I can run my feet back and forth against the floor, and I can feel that it's smooth and it's about the same temperature as the rest of the room. I can sit back in my chair and feel my calves up against the base of the chair. I can feel right now I'm sitting in a wooden chair that has kind of a leather seat. So the wood part goes right under my thigh, and then under my rear end, I can feel the leather part kind of sink. And then if I lean back, I can feel the back of the chair. And if you can imagine that your legs and your feet are growing roots into the ground, just sit there and breathe for a few minutes and allow your body to calm down, allow the heart rate to calm down, because when we get into trauma, we're not really controlling our brain, we're not really controlling our breathing, and we need to start thinking about that to get our brain clicked back on, to get the stress hormones washed out of our body so we can start functioning again. And now we are starting to respond rather than react, which is never good. So as you're sitting and you're breathing, let's engage our 5 senses. So I want you to now look around the room and name 5 things that you can see. So for me, I can see my water glass, I can see my computer dongle, I have a thing to put my glass on, I have a clock that keeps me going, I have a mug with my name on it that my friend made for me. So all of those things are helping click my sight back online. And now I'm going to look around and I'm going to find 4 things. So we're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The 4, look around and find 4 things that you can touch. And it can even be things on you. So I'm going to touch my earrings. And this is actually kind of like a nylon-y type material. I can touch that. I can actually feel my glasses and feel there's a ridge kind of on the sides of them. You can feel don't touch your face, it's coronavirus. But I can feel my glass and there's some bumps on here. So now we've engaged with our senses of touch. So we've got our sense of sight, our sense of touch. Number 3 would be 3 things that you can hear. And right now I can actually hear my voice, which kind of drives me crazy because I've got I don't have coronavirus, but I've got a weird little thing that the air is dry and I feel like I'm kind of grovelly in my voice. I also, though, I'm hearing sort of a buzzing in my ear, and I don't know whether it's from the computer or the lights or what, but I can hear that. Plus we've got some neighbors across the street who are moving in, and so I can hear car doors every once in a while, and a truck keeps coming up because they're moving in. So listen, now you're engaging your hearing. And then we're going to engage our nose, our sense of smell. So smell a little bit, and sometimes that's hard. You might want to, I've got a candle back here and it's not lit right now, but you may want to have a candle. Don't keep a candle if you have a child with trauma and they're prone to destruction. You don't want to have a fire that now you're dealing with, but have a candle. This one smells really good, so I can smell that. If you've got a drink, maybe tea or coffee, you could smell that. That engages your sense of smell. And then also you want to have one thing that you can taste. And I didn't think to bring anything in here, but you might want to have like a mint or a piece of gum or even a cookie or a drink or something that you can taste. As you start to engage all 5 of your senses, you're clicking the frontal part of your brain back online again. So you're back in reality. And you just can take those breaks during the day. If you start to feel yourself drifting off a little bit, take a couple of breaks and do this. Another idea that I have is to take a picture in your mind or on your camera. Maybe you have a picture on your camera of a place that you absolutely love. Stare at that picture, go off by yourself, stare at that picture, and remember everything you can about that place. For me, it would be Hawaii. And we actually just had a trip planned for April that we just had to cancel. So I'm going to have to look at pictures because we can't go for a while. And I know a lot of us are in that situation. And, you know, canceling a trip to Hawaii, it is sad. There's grief going on there. And it doesn't diminish what other people are going through, because I know a lot of other people are sick and have family members who are sick. I have a friend whose mother just died and she can't even attend the funeral. And so I know there's much worse things, but it still doesn't diminish the fact that we don't get to go. And that's sad. And so I can think about a picture of Hawaii and know exactly where it is. And I can imagine and remember back, and maybe you have video where you can sit and listen to the sounds of the waves and listen to the sounds. If there's sea life that you can hear, maybe there's whales or porpoises or whatever you might be able to hear, and the boats and the birds, and picture what you might be eating if you were there. You know, we bought a pineapple the other day. That kind of reminds me of Hawaii, and maybe some coconut shrimp or something like that. And so sit and imagine it. Use your creativity and your imagination and your memory to help pull you into a really good place, because we have negative flashbacks a lot of times if you've suffered from trauma, but you also can have positive flashbacks. So we're trying to take every thought in our mind captive to where we don't just get taken away with anxiety and stress and fear, because God didn't give us He didn't give us fear. That's not from Him. So we have to take those thoughts captive. And we can actually just say, I rebuke that thought in the name of Jesus. I'm not going to think that way. I'm going to have positive flashbacks. I'm going to remember that even though this trauma has happened to me in the past, it's not happening right now. And even if it is, I'm praying for safety and for protection for me and for my family through this time. And we are all going to get through this. So I know many of you are stuck and you're in hard situations, and I know that this video is not going to address every need and every situation, but I hope that maybe it's helpful. So if you're struggling and this has helped you, pass it on to somebody else that you know is struggling, and we'll all get through this together. Thanks so much.